Bear with me. I'm capable right now of having a smile. I don't know if you realize that, but if we go into that topic, I'm not really sure. Might get very dark.
Yeah, I mean,
What are you guys
geez.
feeling?
We've been around like so many different topics on our text thread.
Man, there's a
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
lot to talk about. I just finished the Gabor Mate one.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks for
yeah.
introducing me to him, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a
Was it
he's a
me
cool
or was
cat.
it? I can't remember
I
who.
think it was you,
Yeah.
in our text thread. Oh fuck,
Mm.
my phone's.
Yeah.
You sent one, and I actually didn't listen to this whole thing. I just it got down in my thread.
Q.
So who's
Yeah.
Aaron Mate? Is that a
Aaron Monte is a
musician?
reporter. No, no, no,
Oh,
no. He's a reporter. Um,
Mm.
I'm sorry, I forget which publication he reports for. Maybe the Intercept, but I'm not quite sure. Um,
Aaron Mate, yeah, Aaron Mate for sure. One of those. He's like an independent journalist, right?
yeah, perhaps
Really,
he's just
really,
an independent journalist.
yeah.
But he kind of blew the door open on. Well, this could be a
South,
subject too.
yeah,
But
like
he blew the door
Brazil
open on RussiaGate.
or Russia Gate, right, right.
Um,
Mm.
like I don't know. We could go down the Russia rabbit hole. I mean, I was it overblown by the left? Yay, nay. I say
Mm.
yay. I do say
Many
yay.
do.
Um, Russia's been used to discredit obviously Republicans, but also even non-conforming leftists like Tulsi Gabbard. What the
mhm.
hell?
Mm, mm.
Like, give me a break here.
Yeah, what's up with that? She
Brett,
didn't hurt anybody.
exactly. Brett Weinstein, they've labeled as being held. Is it
Oh, because
like
he's just a member of the intellectual dark web, and they're gonna pick at those people all day and all night.
yeah. We could talk about Nira Tandon, this wonderful
Ooh.
human being. I say that with oogles of sarcasm, obviously.
I don't
Um,
know.
you
Oh,
don't know
she's
Nira
in.
Tandon, okay? Yeah,
She's the controversial person who's in Biden's administration, right?
yeah, head of financial affairs or something like that, which is just.
She took some
Uh,
flack for tweets about conservatives, right? That's all. I just remember
Not
the
just
headline.
conservatives, Bernie Sanders
Uh,
supporters,
mm,
anyone who's not following the line, and
mhm.
admitting that, yeah, why don't we just take oil from Libya since we're there? Like just kind of a human filled with dangerous, not so helpful humanitarian ideas,
Sounds
non-humanitarian
like
ideas. Excuse
that
me.
kind of classic neoliberal thing, right?
Mm.
Totally. Um, yeah.
Why is that such a bad thing?
Being a
Why do people
neoliberal
hate?
or being
Yeah.
near Tandon?
Uh,
Well, I guess both in this case.
I mean the neoliberal thing is like
Mm,
basically it's like a status quo liberalism that is
mm,
like you know let's let's continue our domination of the planet and other countries and our military industrial
mm.
complex outreach, our nonstop growth strategy,
Yeah.
and like let's basically I mean uh, underneath all the kind of just status quo and like liberal kind of stuff, it's like um oh shit, what was I gonna say? It's sorry,
No
it's like
judgment here. No judgment.
yeah, no, it's like you know how the like both sides are like basically playing the game, and like
Mm.
need an enemy and just like retaining the
Right.
other side as an enemy just to keep people
Mm.
like in
Hmm.
this fucking us versus them paradigm. That's basically, they're just they've chosen their
Interesting.
side of that, and it's like they're using us as tools and using the conflict as tools, not even, you know, not even like trying to problem solve really.
Precisely.
Uh,
Their leaders are the corporations, Lockheed Martin, Halliburton, those kind of corporations, and
oh,
also
defense contractors.
we're talking about
Mm,
neoliberals are the ones who don't mind decorating bombs with with rainbow flags and Black Lives Matter banners.
right. Virtue
Basically,
signaling or whatever, making
yeah.
sure that everyone's on board with their going to war or whatever
Libya, why
whatever
not?
ideas they
Why
espouse.
not? Why not Libya? They got on Hillary Clinton's case for Benghazi, which okay, that's fine. Why were we
Mm,
there in the first place?
Right.
Why did we need to
mm,
be there?
mm.
Right.
Why are we still in
We're
Afghanistan?
like the world police, man. We're like the world police. We need to put our nose in
Precisely.
everything.
Except not right. The world police thing is like that's the classic neoliberal
Mm,
justification for what we do with our military around the world. But the
mm,
actual real reasons for it mostly, I mean, I know there are like some real defense and like concerns and strategic military stuff that like I don't really understand, but like there are
On
reasons.
purpose.
Yeah, I mean there are reasons why the military would want to be positioned in places. However, most of it
mm,
is just
mm.
pure imperialism that's about blood and treasure.
When
Old
was the
school.
last time
Old
we
school.
fought a war strictly for defense?
Mm, right.
Yeah, I mean you could call World War II
War Two.
basically,
Yeah.
getting into that.
I mean, they attacked
Iraq
us on our
Iraq was not
soil.
for
Iraq.
9/11. Afghanistan was not for 9/11. Al Qaeda happened to be in Afghanistan, but Al Qaeda
But they
isn't
justified,
Afghanistan.
didn't they? Mm,
Well, what do you mean? We're still there. There's not been an American
yeah.
war where we've been longer than in
Mm,
Afghanistan. Still there.
yeah.
No
Yeah.
talk about it from our illustrious new president.
No, no, it's
Right.
yeah. I mean that's the whole giant power play that nobody wants to even think about for the most part. You know,
Mm,
and certainly the people in power wouldn't want us to think about because again that would be a source of solidarity amongst the people. You know, we would
Well,
all be
mm.
like, "What the fuck are you doing?
we, we
We're not going to die and fight and kill people for oil pipelines. The fuck are you doing?"
isn't it interesting that a lot of Trump
Horrendous.
supporters, one of their plus arguments, one of their arguments for having Trump or boosting up Trump was that he didn't create any new wars. Now the Republicans are using this as an argument
Yeah.
Mm.
for their side. And what does our side do? What does the blue dots say to that? Well, he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
What? Hold on. You're gonna. What the fuck is wrong? What is wrong with this picture here?
And yeah, what has happened?
Wrong
It,
response, motherfuckers.
well, and I mean, there's so many instances of that kind of like flip flopping of issues from left to right. Even just in my like voting lifetime, my first election was for Clinton, '92,
Mm.
and
Oh,
Wow.
ancients.
yeah, man, and I mean, I saw it happen right in front of my eyes when they did the like humanitarian interventions in where it was Bosnia or
No. This is Yugoslavia, like Serbia, this
Serbia.
area.
Yeah, was it Bosnia
Mm.
and Serbia or Serbia Croatia?
It's around that area,
Yeah.
still in the Baltics area, but
Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Mm.
and I'm watching our like huge crazy military operations go in there and like people getting bombed and I'm like okay and that I've heard people interviewed from that region saying like they like the military intervention was really important. Actually, it was super helpful.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
but then they left, and then
Uh,
shit just got crazy again. Like, um, and it's just it's like uh, the whole shit of like being the world police uh, is a I don't even know, man. It's like being a playground police, man, for a
mm,
kid. Like, you really
yeah.
you gonna be the you know like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's
Well, it seems like a lot of these groups have had like these disputes that have lasted for centuries, like in the case of like the Bosnian War or in the Middle East. I mean, these people have been fighting with each other over one thing or another for literally, you know, centuries or
it, yeah, totally.
millennia. Like
And
it's you're
how
not
are
gonna, yeah.
who are we to pick and choose which interventions get made and how they get made, and I mean, it's basically just a handout to the military industrial complex
Well, the
anytime we do
justification
that
at
shit.
first was like, don't let communism spread. So there we have Korea, there we have Vietnam,
Mm,
we have all these countries in
mm,
South America, and then we have, well, then not,
Yeah.
there, that was the justification, and the only boogeyman after that survived after World War II was Russia, was a USSR, Stalin, um, and anything
mm,
that seemed
mm.
like it was likely to go that way, Cuba, Korea, North Vietnam, any place in the world that seemed to be going that way, we were against.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, overt or covert, right?
Cool, yeah,
oh,
right.
precisely.
And then I mean, the problem of the like moral argument for any of these things, right? Whether you're helping, the Serbian Croatian, conflict,
Mm-hmm.
Albanians too.
or you're intervening in some country in Africa, or you're uh, trying to keep Cuba from being a military arm of Russia. Is it then it all gets convoluted and mixed up with economic interests,
Mm.
and then it's like instantly corrupted, you know, and it's just
Mm,
dark,
mm.
man. You just like it goes dark so fast, man. Look at all of our like Central American and South
Oh
American
my god.
interventions have been like so corrupt, so dark, and like how much do we even learn about that stuff? I mean,
Mm.
my
Yeah,
knowledge of
that.
it is
That's
Mm,
that's the
mm, mm,
problem,
mm,
Peter.
mm,
There's
mm, mm, mm.
no accountability ever,
yeah,
ever.
totally.
Is there anyone on the neoliberal side, except for Bernie Sanders, talking about Bolivia in the past year and a half?
Or
I
Venezuela.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God damn it, man! See, you don't even know about Bolivia.
no.
This is shit. This shit's not happening on purpose. All right,
Mm.
Bolivia's resource is what fuels our Teslas and our cell phones. They have
The
the raw
lithium mines or
materials.
something.
Materials, yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
precisely. For the past three
Precious
terms of their
metals.
of their of their of their of their government, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but he was
Mm.
elected by the majority of the population there, which is indigenous people, and
Mm.
he
Mm.
was basically socialist. He turned the country around
Mm.
and made life a lot better for everyone in the country. And then what happens when he wins another term? It was now okay. It was some legal battles. The court supposedly there was a term limit, but then the courts actually ruled that he was legally able to go for another term. And then the election happens, and they say if you have less than 10%, then we have to do whatever. Long story short, he wins and he's ousted,
Mm.
backed by CIA, American.
Still
That
doing it.
sounds, yeah, that
Nope.
sounds
They put
like the right
a
formula.
government. They put a force. They put a president in charge, who obviously isn't indigenous, repealed a lot of shit that was put in place to help. Now and then they said we'll have an election in another year. So then that election happened. I think it was maybe in the summer or fall last year, and of course the same party who of the guy who they ousted, he won again. Because it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? They told you who they want and who they don't want. They don't want some American. I don't want to use such a derogatory term, but they
Puppet.
don't want some motherfucker, some Western motherfucker coming in there and telling them what they should be doing with their
Right,
resources,
right.
Mm,
and
mm.
how those resources and the money should be distributed amongst the
Man,
population. Give me a
that's
fucking break, man.
similar, like
No one's
similar.
saying anything about it. No one's saying anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know
But
about
you
that.
you hear about speaking of Aramante, wasn't he reporting down in South America on like Venezuela or something? Not
I
quite
think
sure if it
so.
was Brazil or Venezuela, but he's been down there reporting. And I think something that is parallel to that is the case of like Juan Guaido, right? The current
Right.
president that was installed by America because of, I think, oil interests, possibly. I mean, not like Nicolas Maduro, the other president, the original president,
He's still
was
there, isn't
any
he?
Yeah, he's still
better.
he's still in power. Maduro's still in power.
Okay,
They
okay,
tried
so
they tried to install
right, right,
Guaido.
Juan
Guaido.
Guaido, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Well, I guess I don't
Yeah.
know enough about it, but I guess that's a good thing. but at the end of the day, like they're so
Venezuela's
corrupt
so
down
fucked
there.
up.
Yeah, well, my friend lived down there for high school. My friend Hristo, and
Oh yeah,
he
yeah, of
said,
course.
he said that he would like go to concerts and people would get killed regularly at
Mm.
concerts. Like he went to like Slayer or some kind of metal concert as a high school kid, and people were vicious, dude. It's like a level that you know we complaining about our first world problems, man, but third world countries, that's some real shit. So
Oh yeah. I
damn.
mean, even what was I mean, legitimately, the bad shit that was happening in the Soviet Union, like under Stalin, even post Stalin. I mean, this is, we don't have a clue of how bad it can be for human beings
Mm,
on this planet, for sure, for sure. But yes, our hands are not clean either. And
mm.
who do we go for? Who are we allowed, or excuse me, who should we trust and go to for the truth about these things? MSNBC, CNN, Fox?
Pick your poison.
Are they going to be telling us the truth here? Maybe what our topic should be today: who do we trust to tell us the truth, or do we
Mm.
listen to a splattering of everyone from every direction and
Mm.
then kind of decipher the truth and try to?
Yeah, it's never going to be 100% truth from any of them, right? Like it's always going to be convoluted and biased from their perspective.
Yeah, is all me is
So
all news media? Is it literally all propaganda?
hmm.
Always? Is you
Yeah, I
know
don't know,
where do
man.
we go?
No, it's not all, right? We know.
No, you don't think so?
No, we know that there are journalists, trying to just get at the story. Um, but uh,
They get home, they tell the truth that goes against the narrative of the big alphabet soup
Uh.
media,
hmm
and
yeah.
then there creates a doubt by the authority that they should not be trusted. They're not in our gates.
Hey Dana, it's kind of a
Yeah.
cool effect right now, but I think the top of your um, your screen, like your thing, got a
Mhm.
little, I don't know what.
Smudgy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Better.
It's taking away from your perfectly structured forehead.
Really?
Please clean now.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't even notice it. All right. Anyway.
Yeah. Who do we trust, man? Who do we
Mm.
trust? And
Mm.
for me, like that, where my brain goes is like, can we trust ourselves first of all, right? That's
Not 100%. I don't. But that's why I try to keep myself in check. But who do I use to check myself?
mm-hmm.
You know, of course I don't trust myself. Are you kidding me? You know how many mistakes I've made in my life?
Right.
All with good intentions, of course. But you know, where are the actual pure good intended news sources? Are there, or maybe the question is there any conglomerate organization, news conglomerate? Is there any one of those that are trusted?
Dude, I think there's conglomerates, right? Like sites where they kind of pool, articles from every which way, and then kind of you have the basic like spectrum of like, all right, here's this story covered by CNN, here's this story covered by Fox News, and then like everything in between. And so then you can go on, like I think there's one, Common Ground. Coleman Hughes actually endorses this one.
Yeah.
Ground News, right? Yeah, that's it. And I think that's a good place to start, because you're never going to get anything that's 100% unbiased by, it's just always going to be somebody's, agenda, right? If it's a big, one of the big media sources. So maybe something like that, using that will help kind of steer you in the right direction. I hope. For me personally, that's what I do.
The other thing that scares me is how many of us in this, well, at least in this country alone, how many of us are having this conversation? Like, how many are craving? How many are in the realization that the big media, whatever boats of how many are just completely okay with them? Or how many of us are questioning them and looking for real? And how many are willing to do what it takes to, or how many even care? How many even watch, care to even know what's happening?
What do you think about younger people?
I think younger people are the ones who are most hungry, but also the ones who have the least amount of power, unfortunately. The ones who are ignored in primaries. Well, they don't really come out and vote. They didn't vote for Bernie Sanders, they say. Although Iowa was rigged and no one wants to talk about that still. The Democratic Party was the one who was in charge of this app that everyone was supposed to use in Iowa. And then boom, 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 boom. Well, they didn't come out and vote for him, they say. So, yeah, whether the young have power or not,
they do. There are a lot of them, man. If they chose to, like, it would go so quick, man. If it was a concerted effort, I think they definitely have the potential to make stuff happen.
They have to get through the minds of their parents and what their parents are watching and what narratives their parents believe. They were able to do that in 2008. When Barack was coming, hey, Mom, I know you like Hillary, but Barack's the guy, and then it kind of worked out. Although, in hindsight, whatever. But where you at, Peter? I feel some tension.
What's the problem, bro?
I think back to when I was a young person, and I was relatively politically active. But I was I was a hothead about all this stuff, and I was like super susceptible to conspiracy theories, every type of conspiracy theory, and of course, I mean, again, like we've already been over that. A lot of conspiracies are real, and so. And a lot of conspiracies are, people can say, oh, that's not a conspiracy. Well, because it's out in the open, it's like Trump, man. Trump just did all his shit just brazenly out in the open. And then people were like, wait, that's like illegal. You can't, or like, that's like,
yeah, it's
like against the national interest, like blatantly. And he'd be like, well, I did it.
Why isn't Vietnam seen as a fucking conspiracy
Hell
theory?
Yeah, man.
Or Iran-Contra seen as a conspiracy?
It is.
Conspiracy. Or Afghanistan or
selling weapons.
Yemen,
And look at the shit that
or
Eric
Saudi
Holder,
Arabia seen as a fucking conspiracy theory.
Eric
United
Holder
States
did
government seen as a
the weapons
goddamn
sales and
conspiracy.
stuff. I mean, there's like so much.
You go.
And again, but just circling back to all that shit that we did in South America and Central America, I mean, it's just like it's really, really bad. So, yeah. Anyway, I think it's great.
Just not America,
the
man.
desire to get young people involved, and I'm also like wary of young people. First of all, young people they really want to party. And
you know what they're capable
driven
of
by very base instincts still, like their brains are still developing, and they're anyway, and then
dude,
like,
there's something funny. I want to add something. Like I watched this video on people, somebody interviewing college kids about something that Kamala Harris said. I don't know where they got this about calling like youth I don't know, inexperienced, or I think she would use the word stupid or something. I don't even know.
I remember
but
that.
I can't even believe that. I can't believe that it would come out of her mouth. But then this person was interviewing random college kids, and they didn't tell the kids who said it, but they're like, I wouldn't vote for somebody like that called me stupid. And that was pretty much the consensus all across the board. Everybody that the interviewer asked said that, right? Obviously, it's like, dude, they didn't know it was Kamala Harris, man. Isn't that funny? It's
well, yeah.
It's weird,
I mean,
but
we're all quick to think that we have the answers, right? And I think that young people,
I don't. I just don't think they do either. They need to shut their fucking mouth and let's have a conversation about it. That's
right. Sure. Yes. And I think that young people tend to think that they have all the answers, and so of course they would be offended by somebody saying they're stupid. But
yeah,
I did.
This is the listen. We all are entitled. What we need to have a conversation about is diagnosing the problem correctly. Young people have legitimate concerns. We am I a young person? I don't know. We sort of whatever the hell them are.
Anymore.
Yeah, okay.
We're twice young people.
Guys, come on. Shatter my
I'm
my
past
hopes.
twice 21.
Well, this fact in some ways can be said for us, I think, as well as Gen Xers. They, our likelihood of being as successful as our parents is greatly diminished.
Yep.
Okay, even more so for the younger you get. All right. Not including all of whether you're in poverty or not, all the other factors involved. All right. We've seen what's been happening to the wealthiest and the rest of the population, and the gap that's been increasing. All right. So they have real, whether their answers are wrong, I think young people have real fucking legitimate concern. When I was in school, I had music programs in my school. My brother, I was 17 when my youngest brother was born. No music in his schools. None.
How long ago?
We're talking about the Bay Area. We're talking about a blue dot. Imagine how bad in the red vastness of this country. All right. So, and who sent the Ayaan Hirsi Ali video?
I did. Yeah, she's great.
She's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And liberals don't have the fucking balls to address what she's talking about. Okay? Listen.
You do a recap.
Talk about education. How many people are being in the black community are being killed by police versus being killed by other people in poverty in their own community, regardless of color? Most likely because we're lumped together because we're black. Sure. But deal with fucking education, man. What the hell is wrong with you people who are supposed to be in charge? And we just haphazardly, okay, it's a D behind their name, let's put them up there. This is the problem with parties. It lumps us all into just voting for a letter. God damn it!
Well, it's
Not for human beings, man. In these
yeah.
primaries, are the people we vote in the primaries are the people who have the money from where? There are people, real people who squeak through. We know who they are. But for the vast majority of this country, for the vast majority of the people in the House of Representatives, who are the most representative of the country, the people that we are able to choose were chosen for us. All right? When Nancy Pelosi looks at that list of however 230, 300 members that are running for Congress or potential members of running for Congress or already are in Congress, their viability is based on how much money they have. This is out in the open. This is no secret. All right? So it is not, our primary people are not voted in by education boards, for example, or people, regular people. The whole thing is you know, I mean, I'm sorry, man. The country is slowly coming to hopefully realize that the whole thing, regardless of party, is rigged.
Yeah, well, the problem. I mean,
I'm not trying to be Trump here. I'm just saying, regardless.
You're far
regardless
from that.
I don't know if
You know?
it's funny because I had a very similar. My buddy Drew said something very similar last night, and I was I'm not sure that rigged is the right word.
Dude,
I mean,
okay.
I know, like, because rigged connotes like let's talk about that we don't even like know that somebody is like nefariously behind the scenes. You know, it's like
pulling strings.
But it's been like this is it's built this way.
Yeah.
It's not rigged. It's not like somebody is changing underneath the structure. This is the way the system is built. All the incentives, all the literal structures of government are
rigged
set up
implies,
this way.
And it was intentionally built to be this way. I feel you. I'm not saying that. You're right. You're correct. I'm thank you for pointing out the difference. It has, and honestly, I think this is human nature of any power class, regardless of stripe, communism, capital, whatever, monarchism. Although the last monarchs were slightly different because they were accountable somewhat. Again, but we don't go to the minutia of that.
Yeah.
Things tend, and honestly, it starts with the invention of money, if you will, the Midas touch of recognizing that, and you know, there's a woman called Sarah Hayes, I think her last name is. Anyway, I'll have to link you to some stuff by her, but her latest book goes back to literally the beginning of corruption. She goes back to Midas, the invention of actual money, you know, and then the power to, you know, to leverage that against other human beings. Now, also, I'm forgetting the person's quote. I'm going to mangle it, but the gist of the quote is the disenfranchisement of the masses is what has brought down every empire in history. Every. And, you know, like I said with the fourth turning, man, every 80, 90 years, this country has had to be like, okay, we've gotten to some pretty grand inequality here. And then it's had to restructure itself by force, by threat of collapse, Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War II, the New Deal. What was going to happen if FDR didn't get in there and just shake this country to its core in changing the way things are done? Unannounced, by the way. The New Deal was unannounced in detail before he got in. By we've said this, by 1936, every newspaper was almost against FDR, yet he won. He had the people what person do we have right now, a good 80 years later, who the media hates but has power? It
Yeah, Bernie.
almost
I mean,
almost
Bernie's is,
could. Well,
Bernie's as
Yeah.
close as you can get.
well, yeah. Cornel West, Noam Chomsky. There's a lot of
Sure,
cats like that. Honestly,
sure.
Mm.
we
I
don't.
was thinking of politicians.
Yeah.
Mm.
True. But well, I mean, the thing is, though.
Bernie talks about the same thing. He talks about like the only way that we could do this, have a political revolution, is by the power of the people. Literally, people, gathering and raising their voices and showing up in person and saying, "We demand this."
Yeah, but Bernie wasn't enough. So who's next? Sorry. Thanks, Bernie. You identified the problem nicely, but we need someone else because you thought you had to go through the Democratic Party.
Well,
That's not going to
we
work,
can do a third party.
dude.
I don't think.
Look
third
at how
party's
Lincoln
ever
got
gonna
in
happen.
there.
Dana Stevens, 2032.
Fuck no,
Over
not a
Dana
chance.
Stevens.
Not in a million years.
I don't know. I think in the macro,
Yeah.
the problem is that things happen incrementally. There's too many forces pulling this way and that way, and so you there, Dana? Oh yeah. So all we can get is incremental change. And I know that we were pointing to these like big cycles and like times when things kind of get to a climax point, and then out of that crisis like some radical shifts happen. But even those radical shifts, like, I don't know, I mean, has how radical has the shift been? I mean, obviously, like, abolishing slavery was radical, but then like did it completely change the dynamics, the economic dynamics, and the inequality and the oppression of black people and and people of color in general in this country? Like, not really, actually. I mean,
Well,
it did, right?
it
But
wasn't the goal, though. We were pawns. Let's not forget that.
okay.
The Emancipation Proclamation, sorry, slow down, brother, was for the freedom of slaves in the South. Remember that. Not for the slaves in the North. Because the North needed them to win the war. Let's not forget that. Our status did not change. But in name only.
To my point, right? That like.
But the one change that did happen, though, man, we have to admit, before 1860 in the war, the phrase was, "These are the United States." After that, "This is the United States." It did become much stronger as a country when it finally reunited as a country, and the government became stronger, as it did with the next turning in the under FDR. Became much stronger.
And
right?
so there's
But
like,
do we want a much stronger government at this point that's
well,
telling Facebook to ban random people because they're going against the narrative of
right? So
ruling elite?
these things go in multiple directions, right? And so you wind up with like, okay, this big crisis point and a big shift, and like some things go in a
Oh, something happens to your mic there.
my bad. You got it.
Back to Earth.
Yeah.
Back to Earth.
Some things go in the direction of power to the people, and some things go in the direction of consolidation of power that, as it was, either in government or in, the upper echelon of the economy, whether that's businesses or individuals who are super rich. And, it's just like that's why there's always just this incremental generational push for change in the macro. It's like and the dynamic that you named, which is power, right, is what I was thinking when you were talking before, which is just like that the real problem here is power, and what happens to people when they get in power is, there's no incentive for accountability. Two, there's no incentive for change. There's only incentive to take advantage of that moment that you have power in order to basically, make money. And so, most people who get into power wind up trying, even if they're trying to do good things for people, they're also spending a lot of their time and energy making sure that they use that power to their own personal advantage.
Mm.
And so shit just gets convoluted and things move slowly, and because there's all this tug of war all the time amongst people in power, and especially in government, I think people get disillusioned real fast too, and they're like, okay, I've tried, I wrote some bills, they got rejected. I could maybe I could hook up this big business back in my home state here with a government contract, little crony capitalism, and then eventually I'll get out of my government job, and I'll go back and get paid $250,000 a year to be on the board and to be
in the private sector.
Yeah. And you get the revolving door, and you get basically a socially sanctioned corruption.
Precisely. So what do we do about it? I mean, would it help to
work on the micro?
Would it?
Yeah.
For real, I feel like these conversations are inspiring. Actually, like a personal philosophy for me. I'm like a microologist.
Whoa!
Microism.
Explain that. I mean,
ologist is not probably the right suffix.
With any hope of that affecting the macro?
Yes.
Effectively?
Yes, but and I've thought about this so many times for so many years. I mean, over 20 years I've been meditating on this and thinking about this deeply, wanting to, create ripples that hopefully affect other ripples, right? But I've always been plagued in the back of my mind when I say that analogy of the reality of what happens when you throw a rock in a pond or into a stream, let alone a fucking ocean. Right? What happens? You get some ripples. They go out. They do affect some other ripples around them, but the undercurrent and what's happening in the macro basically completely consumes those ripples eventually.
Right. We need a dam.
Yeah, I mean,
we need an ice storm.
To continue the analogy, if you did pile a bunch of rocks, at the same time, you could actually change currents, right?
Right. So let's start lumping some motherfuckers together and making this shit change, dude.
Strength in
Somehow,
numbers.
some way, I mean.
And back to your question, Dana, then, but who makes the decision about who's, where we're putting the rocks and which way we want the currents to go, right?
Now, YouTube, I want you to stay out of this conversation, okay? This is where we need to take the little micro powers that we have in our little humble areas of habitation and put them all together, collect power somehow, and throw them all in together. or just pick up and move to another pond. Fuck that ocean.
Oh.
Well, I've been thinking about that for this whole year of like I've been looking for jobs in other countries and stuff, but I something in me feels compelled to stay here, man. I was born here. I feel like I have a role to play here potentially.
Yeah, this is where we much differ, Peter. Land doesn't belong to anyone in my eyes,
Well, sure, yeah,
and never ever will. And that's part of the problem from the get go. First principles. You don't own this fucking planet. You never will. No matter how much no matter how much you fool people around you that you do own it, you don't. You orange monster.
No matter where you go, you can't escape that. Yeah.
You could
not true.
Turn in any conservative credentials you have right there, man. They're gone.
Oh,
you're gonna disavow ownership? You're fucked, man.
What of the country? You mean, or
of
their party?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, dude. I mean, how do? Well, that's the problem. The Native Americans, their concept. I'm not saying they're noble savages, but their concept of living on the land, and being a part of the land versus owning
right
land.
Right.
Like, hello, how many we need more than 400 500 years to still figure this out here? Really? We're still trying to, or we're not. It's not even a part of the fucking conversation.
Yeah, well, we could go way down a rabbit hole here because you start unpacking the ethos of domination, basically, and ownership, and you go into Christianity. The whole thing of like humans are supposed to dominate the earth and nature, and that's like deeply embedded in Christianity, which is deeply embedded in our entire Western domination paradigm of like white people should go and have manifest destiny and not only dominate nature but all the other people who are savages and whatever, and integrate them into civilization, keep them in their place, and I mean, it's like super deeply embedded.
Listen, if we all, you guys know about the Carrington Event in the 1880s, I think it was, over Siberia.
I don't think
heard of it a little bit.
It was basically an enormous solar blast.
Yeah.
All there was, now think about it, at that time all we had were telegraphs. There wasn't anything that was electric, the country wasn't electrified at that point, other than those. By the way, all of those telegraph stations and the wires, they all blew up in this event. What if that happened in
it could happen today.
What societies on this planet living today would survive that? Where would be the safest place to be on this planet for survival if a Carrington event happened today? Meaning everything electronic, cars, computers, hospitals, lights, anything that had electricity in it will be burnt up and not in use. No water coming to your house. Nothing would be happening. I mean, in like modern day society, internet, everything's gone across the world. All right, our government, which relies on buttons for bombs and putting checks in people's hands or whatever the fuck they do,
buttons for bombs, checks in hands.
Their ability to rule over human beings is gone. You think the Capitol thing on January 6th was a problem? Imagine a Carrington event happening today, right? The only societies on this planet that would survive that with ease are those indigenous peoples, whatever, North Sentinel we're talking about, in the Indian Ocean, we're talking about the tribes in Africa, maybe the Pygmies, perhaps those tribes in the Amazon. Those are the people that will survive. because they know how to live with the land.
Sustained, yeah.
We would perish for the most part.
Doomsday preppers. They'd be all right.
Right.
Doomsday preppers would be better off for sure.
My sister's homestead. I would go there.
Yeah. Can I go there too? I will hike there. Cross country, baby.
You know, so to me, it all looks like in the reality of the universe, or even of the solar system, if you want to put it that small. We're full of it. We're full of shit, man. We don't realize what kind of fire we've been playing with for a long ass time.
Yeah. That's a whole other level of macro, right? That's like macro beyond the macro that we tend to look at in terms of politics and media and you know, whatever these different kind of national and international level macro. That's like humanity on Earth level macro, right?
Sure. And when you look at it from that direction, you realize how incapable and how much of a fucking drama on the world stage, as William Shakespeare said it, how much of a fucking facade this shit is. I'm sorry, man. It's a facade. These guys are incapable of what they're claiming to be.
Who do you mean by these guys?
Yeah, who are you referring to?
Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
As Colbert put it, the
Leaders.
chocolate city with the marshmallow center of corruption.
Colbert's on point sometimes, man.
Oh man, I love that too.
Chocolate City. Sexual chocolate. Like in Coming to America. That shit's so funny, dude. Put your hands together for sexual chocolate. Ooh, Chocolate City with a marshmallow center, dude. That's hilarious.
Marshmallow center of corruption.
Oh God, I got it right there.
That's what I'm talking about, man. I mean, we bow down these guys, and because we all seek safety over, freedom, really.
Well, yeah.
And control.
Part of the
and
problem,
these guys, we've let them save us, people in Washington.
Part of the problem with the human condition is that, like, we have needs, first of all, like, and there's a hierarchy of needs if you want to go with that, the Maslow thing, and like for the most part, people have to spend their energy taking care of those needs. Not taking care of each other first, right? You got to take care of your basic needs first. Then you can look at your community around you, and if you can expand that past your own family, and then like getting to the point where you're like, first of all, just to continue the train of thought, right? Then you can think about your community, but you're thinking about like self-actualizing, like trying to live your dreams, and like you have visions and dreams they're all influenced by like the grid of the society the way it is already, right? So you're getting like inculcated, into the way things are from the time you're born. And then your visions and your dreams are based on the way things are. Precisely. And then you put a lot of energy into that on top of whatever you're just putting into your basic needs. So who has the time and energy to not only think about this kind of level of need of like humanity on Earth kind of need, but to then think about like what kind of time and energy can I put into that? Who else can I get together with? And so we've cycled back then to this thing of like, how do we get a huge amount of rocks together to put, and how do we actually strategically put it into the water so that we're not all just like, yeah, we've got a fuck ton of rocks, dump them in, go, and then they're just like rocks down to the ocean, and it's like, no, oh shit, we tried. We all jumped in the ocean. Now we're down at the bottom. Should have thought that through a little bit better.
No, for sure.
Like,
sure.
How does anybody get to that point where they're actually, you know, uh, working together with whatever thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of other people to
Mm,
actually put a group of rocks together
mm,
and do something that's going to shift the way humanity functions
mm,
on Earth? I mean, without utilizing the systems the way they are, without becoming a Democrat and running, you know, or through a political system, without becoming a
mm,
leader in power, right? And then,
mm,
and then you're embedded in the system.
mm,
You know, it's very difficult to
mm,
think about transformational change with without like actually becoming just a part of the system.
Man,
That's
that's the problem with most revolutions. They're legit in terms of their intentions, in terms of their
mm,
diagnosis of the problems, even,
mm,
hmm
and what they want to do for society. But it becomes a little bit like the dog catching the bus when the shit actually happens. They don't know what the hell what's supposed to happen. What's
right.
the alternative? Is is the hopefully the medicine
I love that
isn't
analogy.
well,
The
hopefully
dog
then
catching the
the
bus.
medicine isn't as deadly as the problem that you're trying to cure. You
Right.
know,
Right.
and there goes the problem, man. Who is worthy
mm,
Right.
of power
mm.
over 370 million people?
Mm.
Who is
It would appear
worthy?
it would appear to me that the people have the power. Ultimately,
They
people have the power.
they don't, and they almost shouldn't,
Well, mm,
because they have been brainwashed into the condition they are
right,
in.
exactly. Mm, yeah,
Therefore, they're in some ways incapable of even knowing
right. They're it's
who the
dormant, but
power should
it's
be,
right,
including
right.
me, by the way, because I'm influenced by this shit too. Although,
Sure, we
I'm
all are.
trying to say what?
Which is and part I said we all are, and which is
Yeah.
part of my skepticism of young people too, right? I mean,
Mm,
when you're
Well,
20, you haven't had enough time to reflect on all this. You haven't had enough life experience to be like, oh shit, yeah, there's a grid, like there's a matrix that we live in, and to look at the micro and the macro, and you know,
I think you're right, Peter. I think maybe perhaps the young people aren't definitely not in a decision to be choosing where to go. But I think in some ways they're more capable of diagnosing the problem than us who have been just baked into it
I
as
agree, and
longer.
they have their whole lifetime stretching out ahead of them in a way that
mm-hmm,
even us in our 40s don't, right? We're like,
Precisely.
okay, well, we can see, whatever, maybe we got 20, 40 more years, and hopefully it'll be cool. And I'm just trying to set myself up so I can at least,
mm-hmm,
have a good rest of my life, kind of, you get to that
Precisely.
point where you're just like, I'm so
mm,
fucking worn down by this world, I'm really trying to do the best I can in this life with what I got, and hopefully my kids will also, have a good life, and or the next generations, you know, and you get worn down, man.
mm,
And I think young people have that beautiful optimism of like, hey, we can change the world. We need to change the world
mm,
because
mm,
we got 60 more years here.
yeah.
Yeah, by the time they're
Mm.
30, they're like, okay, yeah, we need to change, but god damn, this shit's tiring.
Yeah, yeah. Or like, or they've basically given into like just pure individualism,
Oh,
more or
I figured
less.
out how to get
And
ahead. I figured out how to
yeah,
stand on someone's shoulders. We can work with this.
yep. I
By the
figured
time
out
you're 40 or
exactly.
50, you're like, yeah, man, look at these shoulders I'm standing on. Like, oh, and this guy helped him stand on that motherfucker's shoulders. And here we are. The ones with power are comfortable.
I just want to let that sink in for a second, man. That was beautiful. I feel like it's really
Mm,
powerful what you just said, man.
mm,
It's the truth, man. So look at what's happening, man.
Just Look at whose shoulders you're standing on.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
shouldn't be the only ones asking, acknowledging that.
Mm.
I keep going back to that interview that Pelosi had in October, man, with one of the most boring human beings in all of media, Wolf Blitzer. He became
He's very vanilla. Oops,
he's
sorry.
but he really
My bad.
gave it to Pelosi, man. He really gave it to Pelosi. He just would
Mm.
not back
Good on
down.
him.
Why are you not passing this bill? There are
Mm.
thousands, millions of people suffering right now. Why won't you pass? And he just would not give up. And finally, she's like, "Well, we feed them," she said. "We're the ones feeding them." Well,
What?
thank you, Nancy. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I will never, ever forget that in my life. I've played at Glide Memorial Church, which is in your district, woman. I've played there countless Sundays where they are actually feeding people homeless in the Tenderloin district of your grand Twitter city. All right? Whose shoulders are you standing on, ma'am?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, man. They're just not worthy. They're worthy of being human beings. They're not worthy of having power. They're not worthy of having power. This is the moment where the building is on fire. We need someone who knows what to do when we break that glass in case of emergency. These people are not them. They're the people who have been there through decades of no emergency. And here we are. They're not worthy, man. Kamala Harris, not worthy. At this moment, at least. At this moment, she's not worthy. Biden? Come on, man. We heard you a month and a half ago tell Georgia $2,000 checks. That has not been said. Now, I don't think the government's even worthy of doing shit, but we know what you said, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the only thing coming out of your mouth is $1,400 checks.
Yeah, stop writing
maybe
checks in your mouth. You can't
later.
cash.
Well, the
Like
14.
you can't even hold on to. I
Just
know
to be
because
fair,
because
they
we
already
passed
gave the
$600
600.
before. Yeah,
Right.
But after we got the, and by the way, I never got my 600. I don't even give a fuck. I don't
either.
want it from this government. What? I don't even care. Whatever. But
Dude.
after that was passed, the $600 checks. After that, he kept saying $2,000. All right. He kept saying, "Just give me a fucking break, man." Like,
I don't know. But I mean, even that, man. Look, it's gonna make a difference, right? It's gonna make a difference. It's gonna be positive, and I appreciate that. But it's like it's such a Band-Aid on a broken bone, you know. And it's like, oh, cool, Band-Aid, thanks. But I think we need like surgery. We need like structural assistance here.
Major reconstructive surgery.
If you really want to know the extent of your, if you really want to know the value of your relationship with the government, just look right now. Just take a close eye at what's happening. Just look closely. Look at the press secretary and how she's addressing people who have tough questions.
I actually, I actually really like. I'm so refreshed by this press secretary, Jen Psaki.
The bar was below. The bar was underwater, dude. Come on, man.
She actually answers tough questions, or she says like, "We're, that's something we're working on. Really. We'll come back to that." Like. She's there every day, and man, I'm like so refreshed by it. I'm like, at least there's finally some like semblance of transparency.
Peter, we are a country that needs a reset, but is complacent with a rewind.
Hmm. Interesting. Uh, uh,
Mm.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
She's a rewind. She's a
Oh,
rerun.
Mm.
I mean, the Biden administration, I guess, but uh,
Yes,
they're trying. Let's give them some time. They're trying to
I
pass a huge bill right now that could offer a lot of assistance to a lot of people in important ways.
and then
You know,
nothing ever else will
and then
get
what?
done.
And then what? Yeah,
Mm.
right. But I mean, I don't know. I'm like cautiously optimistic that we are going to have significant, although incremental changes, like
Mm.
dealing with automation in industry,
Mm-hmm.
with the future of work.
Right. Rising
So
unemployment due
important.
to automation.
There's a really good, very short documentary called "The Future of Work." I forget who produced it. Maybe PBS or something, but it's it's good. It's worth watching because they talk about automation and a lot of things. It's not very like prescriptive as to what needs to be done, but it's informative. Um, and
Well, that's where the you know that's where the horse meets the buggy.
totally right. And climate change, and I think that like just hopefully some helping with the stagnation of government.
Mm.
But I don't know, man. It's really tricky because we're going to get these changes and we're also going to get the consolidation of power like you're talking about, right? Because the incentive goes both ways. And so and then I don't know what happens
And
after
this
that.
is,
It's not
dude.
it's like good and bad.
Again, I'm sorry. They're not capable. You can't solve a problem on the same level that it was created.
Mm. Mm.
It's an interesting
I
point.
keep going back to these
Yeah,
old,
yeah. No.
tired sayings, but they're sayings for a
Mm.
reason.
Hmm.
You know,
Mm.
these people are not
Yeah. They're not the right remedy for
they're not
what ails
worthy.
us
They're
as a
not
nation.
worthy.
Mm.
They're not okay. I'm sorry. Worthy is just it's a harsh word. They're not capable, and I don't know why. I think our fear of loss of safety is what keeps us believing in these people. But I believe in good results, in the hope of good results when I see them.
Well, and
Not until then.
there's a lack of an alternative, man. The
You're damn right.
the
There's no
That's big
alternative.
problem.
the
There's
Right.
no
system
alternative.
like the system is embedded. It is what it is. It was
Right.
like it's not like it just popped up. This shit has been here for hundreds of years, and the
A
whole point.
couple hundred years.
Yeah, the whole
In comparison, that's not long.
yeah, but the whole point of it was to consolidate uh, and preserve power. And to offer some representation and to offer some facilitation of larger services that can't be done on a local level very well. But like
Mm.
again,
And
it's
freedom too,
both,
right?
right?
Freedom.
Yeah, and to preserve,
What about
right, to
freedom and
preserve
liberty?
certain rights. Mm-hmm. Yep. And also to engage the
Because
international
that one is
world.
always like the back burner. They like to prop it up, but
Mm-mm.
well, the worlds amongst themselves are in anarchy. I say we create a bunch of smaller worlds in America that are anarchy with each other. Make it 5 Americas, as I keep saying.
Mm.
We
I'm
are
I'm
in
curious as to
anarchy
your
when it
vision of that,
comes
man.
to
What would you want to do?
Cameroon.
Mm-mm.
make it look like the rest of the world. Break us up into smaller countries. That's it. As simple as that. I don't see a problem. I really don't.
Be easier to manage. That's fair.
I mean, you got Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Germany, France, all within a very small area of each other. They all have their own governments. They coordinate with each other, of course. They cooperate with each other, but they have their own rules. It seems like Alabama might want its own rules. It seems like Massachusetts might want its own rules that are a little different than Alabama.
Yeah. So what's the difference between?
And then you wouldn't have an entity going over in the Middle East drawing arbitrary lines across tribal lands, or telling Bolivia, we need your batteries, or telling Venezuela, we kind of need your oil, or we need you to keep it at a price that keeps us comfortable. Or telling China, we need your goods and we need you to buy our shit too. Do whatever you want with Taiwan and Hong Kong, but we need to keep our relationship cool. Whatever the fuck we're doing wrong in the world, which is almost everything, needs to stop. Like yesterday to the fifth power. Seriously. Break this shit up. California is already within the biggest economic country, the seventh or sixth, whatever economy in the world. All right? Go on, do your thing. By the way, lots of people are leaving California because they ain't doing shit right either. But whatever. Let these cats work it out on their own. This is not working out. I mean, do we need, how many more January 6th do we need? Obviously, it won't happen because they're protecting the Marshmallow Center of Corruption like it's, like it's the last bag of Oreos on Earth. Anyway, whatever, man. I just think, I think now is the time for being creative because shit is not working out. And I don't think that another fourth turning where this government ends up being more of a big brother to every human in this country is the answer either. The restructuring that needs to happen needs to be different than the ones that happened before where the government gained more power. All right? People who are advocating for unity, like Brett Weinstein, Unity 2020, are being banned off platforms that are not their platform, they're private organizations, yet they have contracts and they have dealings with the government. So like they're finding ways to keep power over us, whether we want to or not. They will always find ways to make sure that things somewhat stay the way they are.
Lucas, was Dana breaking up right there for you too?
After FDR.
No, I hear him loud and clear, brother.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah, I think my internet. Hold on, I think my internet got a little unstable.
Oh snap!
Okay,
I'm still recording either way.
There, I'm
so
back.
we can splice them together.
Okay.
But I think when after FDR, you go through the 40s and the 50s and even parts of the 60s, the tax rate was kind of where it should have been. But then, here we are. Bezos paying zero.
Yeah.
Here we are, you know.
Well, don't the rich always find loopholes, regardless of what
that's
policies are
that's the
enacted?
natural order of things.
They're always going to find ways.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem, right?
That's
just the system's kind of broken, and we got to fix it.
They say the checks and balances are the elite fighting with themselves. Come on, guys. Come on now. Come on now. How's that a check and balance on who? Themselves? It's not a check and balance for us
They
as
ain't sure ain't
as
checking
as the
themselves.
citizens. You know. So I'm sorry. I'm yeah. I'm being a dark realist here, at least in my eyes. I
Yeah.
mean, my joy comes from the saxophone sitting behind me, you know,
Oh
Mm,
yeah.
and creating unity in that way. I know at
mm,
least
mm.
conservatives and liberals can be in the same room when I'm playing my fucking saxophone.
So
Preach,
I
brother.
just
Yeah.
like to summarize, like I hear your stance really on like politics in general,
It's my
government
own. It's
as
definitely my own.
well as basically like the shit is like too big and too convoluted to fix, and that even every time we get to these like crisis points and we create some kind of big, change that's supposed to fix problems, it actually winds up consolidating power, and then a whole raft of new problems to happen in a wake of that. And that like if you had a solution on that level of macro, it would be to break up the larger power into smaller powers. Uh,
Mm.
like so, rather than have
It's a
one seat of
monopoly.
You
federal
should do that with
government,
corporations.
have
Yeah, for sure.
multiple like five federal governments and geographical whatever delineations of those areas somehow, uh, and
The
just kind of
government's a
start
monopoly.
smaller. Mm-hmm.
The government is a monopoly.
Mm.
Yeah.
And why are we against monopolies with organiz? Well, we kind of aren't, but anyway, usually we're against
We should
monopolies
be.
when it comes to corporations. But why? What? Explain to me why the same process doesn't apply to the
Right.
government.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
there probably is a reason, but I still don't hear those reasons. I would love to hear those reasons. Maybe I'm definitely obviously smart enough to know because since I'm asking the question, but there's got to be some reason why monopolies are good for governments, but not for
No.
corporations and other things. I'm just an average bro. Remember that.
Yeah. To say it again, the problem is, and this is a big problem that I see, is that like somebody like me, really any, all three of us, and millions of other people, can be like, hey, that shit's fucked. I'm just gonna focus on my own life and make it the best I can, and do the best I can for other people as well, and that's all I can do. But
Yeah.
but there are millions of people who don't have the luxury of doing that because they're broken in some way, right? They or either they have a debilitating disability, um, or there's the circumstances of their life were so bad that you know they're really trapped, or whatever the situation, and they're too young or they're too old. I mean, like,
Mm.
what can a 7-year old do? Or what can
Mm.
a 97-year-old who's in a wheelchair do? I mean, like, or whatever. There are a lot of people in society who can't just say what I just said of like, I'm just gonna focus on my work and and my community, and do the best I can, and that'll be enough. Like, that's fine. The lot of people. And so, as much as I want to be like a micro focused person, and also, as much as I'm disillusioned, or any of us might be disillusioned with um, power structures, whether it's government or business, or whatever power structures there are, uh, we kind of, if we abandon the macro in because of our disillusionment, then we kind of abandon all those people who who aren't able to just do what we can do, which is just focus on our work and ourselves and be okay. You know?
How do we abandon them?
Well, we leave them at the mercy
At the behest, yeah.
of the people who are in power. And hopefully some of those people are good and doing good things. And as we know, a lot of them are super corrupt and just, using their power for personal gain or for crony purposes and, or worse.
That's what's happening now, though, right?
Totally. So,
well, wait. So, yeah. What would happen?
Josh.
What would happen if, like, we did break up, into 5 different regions? Are those corrupt individuals that kind of control the government now magically going to disappear, and we're going to replace all those with, some kind of like compassionate, like leaders that really can steer us in the right direction?
I'm not necessarily advocating for poof, we're there now. Definitely not. I think like every divorce, there's negotiations. It has to be worked out. Again, how does Slovakia part from the Czech Republic?
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, there has to be some kind of a common ground.
Maybe there's a NATO type, not NATO, not
UN.
UN, but another word.
EU.
Well, kind of like
acronyms.
An EU kind of organization that keeps the countries united in some kind of way, and maybe we all the countries are immediately a part of NATO. They're just different countries. It's like the UN will still be the UN, but it'll be in the northern eastern state of whatever it's going to be called, but in New York still. But it's always going to be in a country, These things can be these details can be worked out.
The point
that's the easy part, honestly, to me. But
I think I'm trying to get at is like even if we broke into 5 countries or just broke into states, just said, fuck the federal government, man. We're just going to be states. Whatever, we still have to deal with this dynamic of power on a human and a structural level. And I'm certainly not convinced that like breaking into 5 federal governments as opposed to 1 is going to solve much of that. To kind of Lucas's question, probably the people who are like power seeking for corrupt reasons, or who become corrupted by the power that they gain, are it's still that dynamic's still going to be in play. And I guess my question is like, I think that I totally resonate with your disillusionment with government and with like structured power. Like I get it. And at the same time, I think like I'm trying to see like how can we, people like us, and just speaking for myself, like how can I do more in my life than like just live my best life for myself, and like and to the point of like how can I be part of trying to get more rocks strategically into a pond that I can actually like make an impact on the direction of the current in a way that's really going to help more people, and especially those people who are young, old, impacted by circumstances beyond their control, disabled, whatever, who don't have the luxury of just being like, you know what, I'm cool. I'm all right. I'll focus on my own work. I'll find a way and it'll be cool.
So clearly the powers now aren't caring like that. Who do those people have to lean on? The rest of us. right? It
Yeah, I
will
mean,
be the
certainly the
same.
Democratic Party postures in that direction, but
Thank you. The posture is a very good word. Um, so there will still be the same issue. How many rocks? The same amount of rocks will have a
how many
different
licks does it
effect.
take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll? Sorry. Go ahead.
How many rocks?
Um, let's say, okay, X amount of rocks is going to affect pond A, which is bigger, differently than it would pond B, which is way smaller. So if
Right.
the power if the person that in power is empowering way less people than 370 million, maybe they're empowering in power of 50 million or 30 million, which is almost about the size of the Bay Area, by the way. But anyway, it's going to be a different power ratio to public. I think in this situation, the people that the general people, the general population will have more control over their power structure than they do now. 370 million strong against 500 and so much. So how is it? 500? I don't even know how many Congress and the president and the judicial branch. I don't know how much they are altogether. Whatever that number is, 500,
right.
600 people, whatever it is. So that's my own idea. And the other thing is, when America started, it kind of was the crown jewel of the new way to go about democracies. We need to be having this shit more often, more than every 200 and some odd.
Yeah, we need to innovate
years.
In the structure, right? That,
and when you start five new innovative countries, 1 or 2, 3, maybe 4 of them, perhaps, will be a new direction. We can't even imagine ourselves out of the Second Amendment. We're the only country on the fucking planet dealing with this issue. We're still stuck with this shit. These guys didn't know what a fucking Uzi was. You think if George Washington knew what a Uzi was, the British would even exist today? God, for Christ's sake, people. Look at when this shit was written. Like, we can't be this fucking dumb when it comes to adapting to a new situation, man. More has changed in humanity in the last 100 years than it has in the previous 10,000. And we still think 1776, a document written by people who aren't even greater than 5, 6 at their best. Look at the houses these guys lived in. They were short idiots. They thought slaves was like a viable thing. Like, give me a fucking break, guys. Grow the fuck up. You're flying in tubes in the sky. All right? You're flying airplanes across the goddamn planet. You still think we need a goddamn Second Amendment? Where the fuck are you? What are we doing? We can't be bowing down to this bullshit.
Danger.
Sorry.
You have completely undermined any conservative credentials you may have had.
No. Conserve what actually works. Conserve what actually works. It's not conserve everything from 1950, including black bathrooms and white bathrooms and black. No. Learn how to build a fucking highway system. Learn how to build a green news system.
Take the money to do. Take the money and use it not just to line your pockets, but really, really, like with infrastructure in California. I mean, I've had discussions about this. This is Democrats doing this, it's ridiculous. And it's like, we should have had a rail system going from Northern California to Southern California. But because of obviously environmental concerns, and there's a lot of stuff, but I think ultimately things can happen on a state level. If the money, it just seems like there's so many opposing things these days, and there's just, it ultimately comes back to the money, man. I hate that that is the root of
Dude,
the evil that is happening.
dude.
But you know, it really is a huge factor.
Man, the Golden Gate Bridge, which is a bridge I must say I love. I love this fucking bridge, okay? There's nothing about it I don't love. Was built in 9 months. Built in 9 months in the 30s.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Bill
Wow.
Maher, as he keeps saying every week on the show, I don't know if you guys have been watching,
I watched Bill.
he
Yeah.
can't build a fucking like solar roof, solar panels on his roof for 2 years now. 2 years.
Mm.
And we're talking about the Golden Gate Bridge in 9 months. Come on. Probably there's a problem on both sides. Again, I don't care what color skirt you're wearing, blue or red. You're not worthy. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
keep hammering the same point, Peter. I'm sorry. This is
No,
getting
no.
boring now.
Well, I mean,
No.
I think we are cycling and
We're
spinning
entertained.
a little bit, and which is why we should have next time we should have a guest, get a new some new perspectives in here to talk about. It'd be
Precisely.
interesting.
Precisely.
But I do, I do feel like I personally am making progress in how I think. Um, I'm definitely like pulling apart some ideas that have been a little bit like just stagnant or consolidated, um, and I'm also,
Yeah.
I'm always searching for like, as you can tell, I'm always searching for like, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for what I can do and do next? Um, and because my life is already really fucking full, and also like, what is this? Like, I'm trying to be in a consistently self-reflective place in my life. Where like, okay, I'm reflecting on my values and the needs, again, the hierarchy of needs in my family and for myself, and then I'm looking outward to my community, and I'm thinking about my own like self-actualization of like my dreams and my visions, things that I feel have a fire about and a passion that I, like music and other, you know things about like, you know like I'm talking about, helping, yeah, just being part of being of service to the world, not just like being cool with, hey, my parents did well enough that they can help me out when I need it, and like I've got a job, and I'm working, and I'm doing okay, so that's cool. I'm just not really gonna care about anything else, and anybody else who doesn't have that, like, sucks to be them. I can't do that with my life, and that's just part of, it's always been part of my psyche, man. um and so, uh
What to do?
yeah,
Is the
so
question.
yeah, what to do, not, I like, and like, the problem is a really important part of that process of getting
Totally.
to what to do, right?
Totally.
Word.
Have the conversation at least, the very least. You know.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
I
yeah,
don't
man. I
know that
think
we're
I think
getting
there's
to
I think I think well there's a lot of room. What you said is extremely valid. There's a lot of room. Well, it's not going to happen with ignoring the micro, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our house in order is like the foundation.
Mm.
But yeah, how to go beyond that is the tough part about it.
Mm.
But I think us having our macros, our micros equal a somewhat of a macro here in this conversation, and widen these circles to bigger macros. Um, but man, the thing that needs to become sorry for the timing on this analogy, but the thing that needs to become a virus and infect all of our minds is the concept of being totally cool, being wrong, and wondering and conversating and being open and well, just being open to the fact that your news network is not your friend. I mean, just like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
There needs to be an open and a willingness and openness to imagine things being different, even. You know,
Because they are, man, all across the board. You talk to people from different walks of life, conservative versus liberal, right versus left, whatever the divide is, everyone's looking at it from such a different perspective. And it seems to me that without, without having like some kind of dialogue between the whatever different, whatever the duality is, you're never going to have a chance to move forward or progress if you're always just on one side, comfortable in your views, and just swallowing it up every day. You're not ever going to, like, as a society on the macro level, we're not going to ascend forward as a culture. We're just right now we're kind of, I feel like there's this stagnancy going on, and it's partly because not enough people are doing this exact thing. And I think we've been inspired by people like Brett Weinstein and some other people that I don't know. I mean, I'll get slack for it, but people that are having uncomfortable conversations, people that are getting ridiculed and slandered, like Jordan Peterson, obviously. But I think, like, what did they do? They just like painted him as a schizophrenic, like in
man,
this time, this
that
recent
piece,
thing.
man,
That was,
that
yeah,
was,
kind of.
oh my god.
Michaela, his daughter,
It took all my power not to post it because I'm not posting about politics on Facebook.
Yeah.
Do
It's
it.
gotta be careful.
It's gone for. But man, that thing they did on Peterson.
I don't know about it. What was that?
Exactly what I'm talking about. This woman with a British accent who works for the New York Times called them to basically
the Times.
Pretending that she was going to give their side of what's been happening with him the past year and a half with his benzodiazepine dependency, which came from a prescribed medicine that a doctor gave him because he was quite understandably stressed. His wife was dying, had cancer. The media before that was already after him.
Right.
Of him. Now, whether he's right or wrong, that's besides the point. What is she? They basically did a hit piece on him, totally mischaracterized everything he's been going over the past couple of years. Michaela, luckily, his daughter, recorded the whole interview. Recorded the whole interview from the lady calling in and what the questions that were asked, and so we get a chance to see how they came out with their article and then listen back.
Now they framed it.
How exactly the interview went, and then we see how they framed it. New York Times can, with the exception of the art division, which I love because they've given nice reviews to my music, they can kiss my ass. Seriously. I can think of so many nasty things that they can do right now other than writing anything on politics ever again. I'm not going to gross you guys out. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. And this is part of the reason why I don't trust them either. Or I don't trust major conglomerates. The Post, are you kidding me? They have a $600 million deal with the CIA. Fuck you. Even if you're off 1 degree from the truth, you're wrong. And you're never going to admit it. These people are not accountable for the bullshit that they're... Have they issued an apology? Or have they issued if they've taken anything back that was in this just completely fabricated hit piece on Peterson? He's never been schizophrenic.
There seems like an underlying agenda, though. obviously, then
Of course
if
there
that's the
is.
case,
Well, now we've cycled back to the neoliberal thing, right? The agenda is to keep the fight going, right? Is to be on a side
mm,
Precise.
and
Well,
to fight against the other side, and they
stop conversations.
they take
Okay.
an interview and they'll frame it, or they'll take whatever event and they'll frame it in a certain way so that it can perpetuate that
the
thing. And
fight.
I think a lot of people do this unwittingly. They don't even realize they're basically pawns in this kind of larger macro
This
thing.
woman knew what she was doing.
I mean, I know they
Mm,
know what they're doing, right? Like in terms of, but I think that a lot of people actually are so invested in being on a side that they
mm.
literally only hear what they want to hear. They only see
Oh
what they
yeah,
want to see, they
precisely.
just fit whatever they want into their story. That's what was the woman
The men's rights activist
Yeah,
video
man.
that was amazing, man.
Um,
I didn't know about her before, but that was an
Me
amazing
neither.
Oh yeah, that
video,
was
man.
deep, dude.
I got
Mm,
out of my silo right on
mm,
YouTube,
mm,
and
mm,
there
mm,
she
mm,
was. She
mm,
popped up. Um,
And that's the
what?
thing. How many people are willing to take that kind of scrutiny?
mm.
Yeah.
Go
She
into
said
the eye of the storm.
the one line she said in there that honestly, man, really shook me to my core. She said, when you attempt to humanize who's considered your enemy, you risk being dehumanized by your community.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, when you humanize your enemy,
There
you
you
risk being
go. And
dehumanized
that
by
is
your
the
community.
Demonized,
That's
but
deep.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Cassie J. Yeah, Cassie J.
Cassie J, yeah,
Interesting,
word.
really interesting person. And I think what she did was really brave. And I'm sure she took a shit ton of flack for it. I know it. I don't know the whole story. But, um, yeah, that's.
same thing if you're talking about the trans issue. I heard Joe Rogan yesterday or 2 days ago talking about the trans issue.
Mm,
Oh, speaking of which, did you hear? Oh yeah. Oh, I did send you the clip of Abram X Kendi.
mm-hmm.
Um, Now, when we talk about trans people, they usually know pretty early on in their lives. It's not like, oh, I'm 16. I think I want to be trans.
Mm,
Usually, it's not that case. He's just like single digits
mm,
age. Now, he's saying his 4 or 5 year old daughter says she came home and he's horrified by that. Okay, all right.
mm.
No one's going to get in this case. I see everyone giving an excuse as well. He didn't really mean it like this. Yet, Joe Rogan talks about a trans athlete, um, um, a trans woman who transitioned, right? Kicking the hell out of women in sports, like in boxing or what, I can't remember if it was MMA or what the situation was, and saying that that's wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the transphobe.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about adults here.
Right.
Mm.
And Kendi,
Once that circulates, I
we
haven't.
just gave him a Pulitzer Prize. He can't
Yeah,
be
I don't
wrong.
know. Just wait. Once that circulates, he's gonna take it
Dude,
too,
I've already
man.
seen the excuses. You look at the thread, man. People are already like,
Mm.
well, he didn't really mean it in that way. I'm telling you, man. The whole issues that flip, like the liberals
Mm-hmm.
for the war now, and they're
Uh,
it's just one of these issues that it's going to be. Are they on my side or not? It's a tribal
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Right.
you
mm,
know.
Right.
He kind of slipped up, but no, he's kind of right. When you're 5 year old, he should be horrified that your daughter may become a man. You should be horrified. No, no, no. You should be horrified that maybe in 15 years that your daughter may decide to be a man and sees that and is horrified by that. Do you not care? Like, the double standard is just.
mm.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like, are we not allowed to use our brains here?
Well, I don't know. What? Yeah. It's it's a tough dynamic right now with information, with opinion, with tribalism, um, and I don't know that there are like any easy solutions on that macro and other macros, man. I just see like incremental tug of war this way, that way, people, you know, trying to find their way through shit and like it's very difficult, man.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen if anyone's trying to force their side of the issue, and that's just what I see. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
Mm.
it needs to happen in conversation. Like I said 2 podcasts
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
or whatever. It's like conversations are going to need to happen whether preceded by war or not. It'd be nice if there was no need for war. If the war was decided not to happen, if we just jump in to the honest conversations without trying to one up someone or one up
Mm.
your
Mm.
or up yourself in the process.
Right.
Mm.
Yep.
You know,
This is what I really like this guy Gabor
Gabor
Mate,
Mate is
Not
the
a.
shit, man. Yeah.
and you know he he's a psychologist too, like Peterson, but he's got an approach that is always seemingly from the few things that I've seen so far, pointing again back at trauma, pointing again back at your personal story and your personal history and self-reflection, and then also like being clear-eyed about what's going on in this moment with the with what's being said and done, but seeing the layers beneath it, like this is not just about what's being said and done here. This is about personal issues. This is about trauma, and there's healing that needs to happen. There's self-reflection. There's conversation. There's dialogue that needs to happen. That to me, that's again, that if I had a personal philosophy to articulate right now, that would be a big part of it. Would be that like, um, micro is where we can actually affect change, and um, and that like most problems, uh, since the problem is our topic, most problems stem from personal things that need to be looked at with compassion,
Totally.
need to be dealt. The trauma needs to be dealt with and healed, and like integrated. Like healing isn't like, oh, your trauma disappears.
Mm.
Healing is that you integrate the realities of what has happened to you in your life, um, whether it's things that have been perpetrated against you or things that that you've said and done that but like those traumatic things that have happened in your life that have like skewed your perspective on the world, and or just given you like deep anger, sadness, unworthiness, whatever the issues are. Like everybody has different variations on those, and the healing is about integrating that into your own story and into your behavior, of like, okay, this is part of who I am, and I'm going to utilize what I learned from this, and I'm also going
Mm.
to like adjust my expectations of myself and my behaviors so that I account for some of those issues that I know I'm carrying with me.
Dude, how amazing would that be if that could be done on a macro level? How fucking amazing would that be? So it's easy for me to do that with everyday people. It's hard for me to do that with anyone who works in Washington, to be honest. I'm gonna be very honest in saying that. But I can. I just think it's easier if they weren't in power. I think, and I think it would
Oh,
be
there's the rub.
great. And I think, yeah, of course. And I think it would be great if they could even entertain what's some of the things that Gabor is talking about, looking at the past and how it's literally running the future right now. You know, that conversation he had with Tim Ferriss, that little small snippet, which I will be watching that whole conversation, by the way, was
Yeah,
was,
I need to
was
too. It's over 2 hours.
brilliant. Yeah, I've watched. I've checked out Gabor actually maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It's a very very powerful way at looking at oneself, honestly, which is always powerful. um, but that kind of willingness to look at the hardcore truth and have that much compassion for yourself and in turn for everyone else is just completely absent in DC, man. Completely. Maybe AOC at moments, but she's already in the mud now. She's built. She's covered in mud like the rest of them now.
Yeah, I mean, I, in some ways, I deeply, deeply respect AOC and what she's done, and in other ways, like she gets trapped in the same thing, right? Of like, I'm, on this one side, and I'm gonna frame the other side based on the conflict and the poles of, rather than look at people across a spectrum and as layered, deeply layered, and see like, where people's trauma is at, and what needs to be acknowledged and healed. And the problem with doing that is that it's very intimate. It's scary. Even in that Tim Ferriss moment, right? He was like, okay, this is where I'm going to have to put a boundary.
Yeah, this is like level 1.
We could have this conversation with some wine or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, but
you have to wine and
not
dine
on
me,
tape. Like,
not right here. Not on, yeah.
And he's obviously like deep willingness to go there.
Yeah,
right?
always. I was surprised to see him say that, honestly. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, honestly, the second AOC said we gotta take down names and hold them accountable, I was like, oh shit, there she went, little birdie flew away. I was deeply disappointed, and that was in April or something like that. That was maybe June or something. That was a long time ago, and it became very, I don't know, man. It's just that's what I'm saying, man. Whenever you jump into that pond, that muddy pond with a white tarp all over it, you're fucked. You're fucked, man. What you got to do is get really close to the tarp, put some lighter fluid all over it, burn it. Make sure the humans are out and they're on the side. What's happening to my
take all the safety precautions.
Get the humans out, but burn the ideas and the frame, and the domineering elitist frame that permeates everything in Washington. I wrote this song in April of 2008. I don't know if you remember what happened in April 2008.
2008 April.
Financial
Barack Obama
instability
was in the primary with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, that was 2007, wasn't it? Didn't he get?
2008.
Oh no, right. He got elected in 8 and then actually started his term in 9. Okay.
And he had related to us, sort of, Lucas. He had a private dinner in Marin County. Remember this? He was talking to donors, and he said, and it was recorded, of course, but someone didn't know they were not supposed to record, and
they cling to their gods and guns.
Precisely. Those people in Western Pennsylvania, they cling to their guns and religion. He said, precisely. And We've got to figure out how to talk to them or whatever, however the whole thing went after that. But he was labeled an elitist for saying that. My naive, I'm going to be frank here how naive I was. I was like, why are you guys calling him an elitist? Don't we want someone who's an elite to run the countries? Meaning, like, we have elite fighter pilots and there's an elite class, although that's probably a bad example, or Northwestern Airlines, which used to exist at that one point. So I'm like, what's wrong with the term elite? On my second record, Today Is Tomorrow is the name of the record. I wrote a song called The Elite, and it was from that framework. Like, why are we
interesting
calling this smart, elegant, handsome black man an elite? Here I am, 13 years later. I want to play that song, but believe you me, it will be done with a very different tinge. Probably whistles, marching band, just a satirical look at what elitism really is. Because I get it now. I get it now. I'm not naive at this point now. But that shit's got a, man, they're all elites, man. They're all elites. You know, they're all above us. And what do people with power and elitism, how do they talk and how do they think about those that are not in their class? Very few of them are real people. You know, and I will say, he's in the mud as well, but I've met this guy, and he's a real human being. I randomly met John Tester of Montana. I don't know if you know, he's a senator from Montana. My neighbor on the other side of the wall here, Jameo, is from Montana. We had a gig out there. And Michael Allberg was on that gig. And Mike's dad, Phil, knows, because everyone in Montana knows everyone. It's a huge state, but everyone literally knows everyone. So we're flying in the airport. We're going back somewhere. And we're just in the middle of Minneapolis Airport. We're all on the same plane. I didn't realize it. They only have these small little planes that go to Montana. So we get off, and then John comes up and has, sits with us for a good 5-10 minutes. And we're yapping. And I had no idea who the fuck this guy was at all. And then he leaves, goes about his way, and then Phil says, that was Senator John Tester. I'm like, what the fuck? And every time I've seen him, you see him driving his truck on his ads. He's the only farmer in all of government in DC. The only actual who goes home and farms his own land.
Right.
The guy who does, So, maybe you can say he's an elite farmer. I don't know. But for the most part, for the vast majority of these folks, man, we don't need elitists. Elitists aren't going to bring back unions, which are at an abysmal standing right now in this country. We don't need elitists.
Yeah.
We need people truly representing the people.
We need human beings who have empathy and compassion, like Gabor Mate, for example, who can really feel the plight of those tens of thousands of people that are literally still living on the streets of LA, living under bridges in San Francisco, who have been shipped out of New York City, God only knows where. Who ever talks about those people? Nancy Pelosi says she feeds them. I don't think she even means them. She means us, who had jobs. So, I'm sorry. Broken record.
Average bro.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel bad because the problem is diagnosing the problem. But I still feel such strong motivations to figure out where can we begin to even think, point towards a solution here? Where do we take what I think are great micro concepts and transfer them to the macro with no power, essentially. The power, again, the little power we do have is the internet and the phone, obviously, but the the likelihood of subverting the alphabet media corporations is pretty low. Um, but there have been some that's
Mm,
shown you don't need them. I mean, AOC
mm,
got there; she didn't need them. That's the
right.
beautiful thing about her. She didn't need the media to be on her side to get where she did, and she's still a threat to them, even to the point that they're like, Nance still poo poos her off. You
Huh.
know,
Yep.
Yeah. If you stand upright, man, if you are like 100% accurate with what you say and honest and with good intention, you will be able to attract people that have similar intentions, and you will start. This is really simple thing. This is exactly what we're doing. We will start attracting other people to have conversations, and those people then will in turn attract other people to listen and chime into those conversations. They're interesting, and we ultimately then through them the micro these tasks, we find a way to connect as a community. And I think ultimately on that micro level we can continue to inspire people to go like WTF, and wake up and stop like, stop kind of like jog them a little bit, even if they are like entrenched in their daily lives, going to and from point A, point B, point C to Z. Like we need to like just do exactly. I mean, because with this podcast, like maybe we don't know the answers. And that's maybe for me that's not like the end goal. The end goal ultimately to say WTF, and then the more people that chime in, well then maybe we might come to like a consensus. It's like, all right, well these are actually the problems. Let's chat, and then who knows, like on the x amount of time we spent on talking, how many hundreds of hours we spent, maybe we'll start with the help of somebody we might have on next week or next month, we'll come to another place, another plateau of understanding, and it'll just get us further and further, and then that'll spawn in turn something, someone else to start some kind of an organization, and ultimately we'll have that butterfly effect. And I think that really is the potential that something like this conversation has to start that effect and then create that ripple, but do it in a way where you're creating like one ripple creates two ripples, creates four, and then it multiplies. And I think that really, if we get enough momentum going, people will be having these conversations every day, all over the country, all over the world. And I mean, you see it. I see it happening for sure with the amount of time I spend researching and just listening to people talk. It's definitely happening. So I feel super confident and super optimistic that we probably don't need to know all the answers right now. I think we just following the path of least resistance and the cosmic attractor at the end of time will just steer us in the right direction.
I fear what Peter was saying earlier about not, the dog catching the bus, though. When you get all that to that point of the revolution or whatever, what you want to call it, to that point of definite change needing to happen, when you have all the rocks assembled in one place, what then becomes. See, when you start talking about organizations, I always get scared with organizations because then it creates a hierarchy, and then it creates a whole group, a tribe that's only going this. So the idea is having these conversations important. How do we? And I think even for me, more important than even gathering minds that think like us. What's more important is convincing the minds that are stuck that they are free to wonder and
Or
conversate and challenge their own
yeah, bringing
views.
people into
That
the
seems
mix,
more
yeah, to do
important.
that.
Yeah. And leaderless versus unleaderless is something I'm still agnostic on. Black Lives Meter, Black Lives Matter is pretty leaderless. I mean, there's quote 3 whatever leaders, but there's a lot of there's movements that are happening that seem leaderless, and they're in turn have problems because of lack of leadership. Therefore, but on the other hand, when you do have a leader, it's like also
that could turn out badly.
A defined leader. Yeah, I mean, maybe identifying effective, great leaders. Probably more out of politics than in politics, but identifying those great leaders and
that's a good point.
And what were the ingredients that made them great leaders, and how can we look for those ingredients?
There's some good studies on that, man. I'm reading about it. Why are we using
them? Why isn't that our Constitution, for Christ's sake?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of like management courses and stuff. Studying different styles of leadership. There have been some really interesting research studies that have identified, like, kind of given names to different kind of sets of behaviors and kind of templates, another like archetypes of leadership styles, right? Not in the, at least the way I'm reading it, it's not like, okay, you have to choose one of these archetypes and to fit yourself into, or, but it's more like, okay, here are some typical things you can see, like, oh yeah, I see, a leader that I've interacted with in this archetype, and I see myself kind of in a little bit of this one, and like, I want to, now that I have kind of an overview, I can think about like what would be, what kind of skills or traits, would be the best for me to, to use, like for myself in like running this nonprofit organization and whatnot, So it's cool to think about that for sure. I'm just thinking about it on a self level, but I don't know, man. I think there's always. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that scales up though, Peter. Go ahead.
Scales up, yeah. I mean, I think there's perhaps like just a dynamic to life on Earth, perhaps life in the universe, that is like a tug, a push and a pull, and a tug this way and a tug that way, and there's the dynamic of scalability. There's a dynamic of sustainability. There's dynamics of power, right? And there are times when things grow, and times when things stagnate, and times when things dissolve, and times when things like burn, like are destroyed. I know I'm getting like way macro philosophy right now. I feel myself going into like mystical Hinduism, back to some of my spiritual roots, of like
right, power of the universe,
Shiva, and and like
power of Shiva,
the destroyer, the creator, but like there's all those forces exist in the world, and it sometimes there's a level of like surrender that, for me at least, I have to allow myself to like surrender to the I don't know, just surrender my need to like want things to be a certain way, There's like I have this, I think everybody knows this experience, this feeling to some extent or another. Everybody has this desire of like things should be some way, and they're not fully that way,
right.
Yeah. And like, and there's like a kind of I like to think of it as a divine contradiction that I live in a lot, at least psychologically, which is like, simultaneously embracing that feeling of like, just to name it, discontent, or like that feeling of like things should be better and different, and I'm going to work in every way I can to make changes in those better and different directions. And like, I'm throwing rocks into an ocean, and like, and maybe in some cases I'm throwing them into ponds where they'll make a big difference, and in other cases, that even that water from the pond is like eventually flowing back to the ocean, and I don't have control over those currents. I don't. I can't, and I have to surrender to that.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's I'm reminded of the phrase "Don't sweat the shit you don't have any control over."
Mm.
Right.
And I usually, well, not there's no usually about that's not true. I'm nowhere near that. I'm always sweating shit I can't do nothing.
It's a human condition, bro.
I know it's so faulty,
Mm.
but I know my life would be much better if I just said, fuck, put it in. But would it be though? That's the question. I mean,
Mm.
I can't just watch some, you know,
Right.
blind person walk out in the middle of an intersection. It's
Right. Right.
Mm.
And
not
what
if
are
I can't help it.
what are we abandoning if we completely surrender to just like, the world is what it is, fuck it, I
Yeah.
just am and I am who I am, and that's it. I'm just gonna solve this all that happens, and then I'll turn to
Yeah, I
dust.
don't have a
And
family to take care of. It's just me taking care of these saxophones behind me. That ain't shit. I don't have to
Oh.
feed them every
Mhm.
day. I don't have to do shit. So I can sit
Mm.
here and watch the news, trying to figure out what the weather's going to be, and realize that the country is falling apart at the same time, and I get to worry about that shit too. So,
Mhm.
but the thing is there, there's no. Well, we've already talked about that. What
Yeah.
the hell do we do
Dude, we
about
got
it?
to
What do
think.
we
Yeah,
do about it?
we got to think about our greater family. Ultimately, that's what we're doing. We're
Ultimately,
just trying to
yeah,
connect
yeah.
to each other and like just break down all these
Well,
barriers and walls, man. Like, right?
I think you just speed it past the answer, though. I mean,
Mm.
achieving the answer is the hard part. But you said
Mm.
connection, man. That's it. Connection. Even if I want to look at those mud-filled humans under the white tarp in D.C., even if I'm talking about them,
They're all
you know.
reptiles, like David Icke suggests. Well, not all of them, but
Oh goodness, David Icke.
so many people think
Um,
that. I
but
can't understand that. But and I like David Icke. I like some of the things he says. I'm weird, but
I it's like with everyone, it's a issue by issue basis. There's some things I definitely don't believe in. This person thinks this, so everything they say is
mm.
deemed stupid. Like, which is basically what they're trying to do to Jordan Peterson. He definitely
Mm.
has some things that are wrong, but there's some right
Yeah,
things in
yeah.
there. But either way, the connection. We need connection with other people. We're in some ways the thing preventing us to be connected to the muddy people under the tarp is that they don't want to be connected in a lot of ways.
Mm.
You know, but finding common ground,
Mm.
finding common ground is almost not desirable for a lot of folks. It's not even in the cards. It's like, oh, you voted for who? Done. You know how many liberals? I mean,
Mm.
we've all seen them. If you voted for him, then you're defriend me. You, I don't
Oh
ever
yeah. Oh
want to
my
see
gosh.
you ever
I'm dude.
again. Blah blah
You,
blah blah
you
blah
know my
blah.
story, dude. I mentioned some
Ah,
guy, like some of my family members. They voted for the red orange haired devil, right? And all of a sudden, then this woman came back to her boyfriend and said the next day, I'm not remain nameless. And then I got branded a racist because I mentioned that. not all people who voted for that guy are in fact racist. I mean, through that logic, and I can argue with millions of people maybe about this, but ultimately in my mind, it's like my family, dude, I know there's not a racist bone in their body, because we came from where we came from. And so for them to tell me that, it was just, I felt like, what is going on? Anyway, sorry.
The only group that didn't vote more for Trump the second time than the first time, funny enough, was white males. So how are you going to account for more black males and black women, Latino males, Latino men, gay men voting more for Trump the second time than the first time? You bring that up, their heads start to explode.
World's going crazy. Oh, damn.
You know? But you also notice that there's still never an acknowledgement of that. Ever an acknowledgement of that. So, you know, these guys are just not curious. They don't want connection. They don't want connection. The thing is, we need connection with people that are different than us.
Both sides, though. Both the Republicans and Democrats need a big, fat slice of connection, dude. Right? Like, they're not connecting. That's the problem.
The politicians specifically have no incentive to be connected to the rest of us. There are a few, obviously, that feel have an obligation. You know, I'll put AOC in that faction that she feels obligated. Mitch McConnell, are you fucking kidding me?
How can they connect to people if they can't connect to themselves? They take forever and fill away like all this, you know, this red tape in government, and they're twiddling, starving while people are sicking their children tonight, you know?
Right.
Dude.
What we need to do is everyone except those under the white tarp and covered in mud, everyone except for them needs to be connected somehow. You know, we need to build connection with everyone. Seriously. You know, especially we need a diverse kind of connectivity.
And that's part of what's so
where
great about
you can
music,
actually
right?
Precisely
Food,
but we need to be able to do it with words as well, with explicit words, not with pure emotion is great, and that's a great way to get us in the same room. But if it doesn't transfer in us having unfearful conversations with those that may differ with us on some issues like abortion or oil or whatever issue, there's still 89% that you guys are on the same page on. You know? So if we can't even have a conversation with those people who advocate abortions, you know, then we're not getting anywhere. Then we're no better than those people under the tarp, you know, covered in mud. I don't want to be covered in mud. I've told you, I've dated a Trump supporter. I have no problems with people who think differently than me. We need to be able, and that's what I think that's the biggest thing that we can start. I think it's the biggest foundation that we can try to create. So maybe the person we bring on here next should be completely different than us. Do you guys know any staunch conservatives that we can talk to as our guests next time? You know?
Oh yeah,
right.
I'll bring some cats on if you want, but I mean, I also want
that are willing to also because
absolutely.
You know, they have in some cases a correct perception of them being dehumanized by people on our side. Or who come from our direction. I'm not on the side, but you know what I'm saying. We need to create ourselves into being Daryl Davis.
Yeah, man. God,
it will become obvious that those people
that's as close as
that those muddy people under the tar are not worthy.
That's as close as we can get to a utopia, I think, man. When we start
Totally, man.
changing that stuff, dude. That's
Totally.
really where we can prop ourselves up as a society. I mean, even though utopia, you know,
Danger.
uh, uh, Latin is no place, right? So, like, it doesn't.
Oh, Peter's freezing. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Did I say
Sorry.
something dangerous?
Yeah,
No, no, no,
utopia.
no. Oh, you did? Utopia?
Yeah, you
Uh-oh.
Lucas, you said utopia. Sorry, yeah, we're totally freezing. Hey guys,
I've been cool. I got the video going on my. I've got everything going.
Good.
So anyway, yeah. In hindsight, we can get it from my side.
guys,
Mm-mm-mm.
I gotta go.
So
I
yeah,
gotta
it's been,
teach
it's
in a
been
few
pretty
minutes.
long. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to wrap it up? Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, to be continued. Let's talk about guests.
So yeah,
Yes, sir.
this Daryl Davis's motherfucker. If that dude can talk
Mm-mm-mm.
to racists,
Mm.
members of the KKK,
Mm.
I think we can talk to someone who differs on abortion with us. It seems like it's
Yeah.
likely. I don't know. I may be wrong.
Or feminism, as well.
Yeah.
He'll be happy to talk about that and his views. He's very logical, so I mean, he's very intelligent, very logical.
Yeah,
Cool, man.
yeah. Let's get to somebody who's conservative. Let's get to definitely get a female in here.
Yeah, working on it for sure.
Maybe both. No, that's hard.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys for next time? What would you prefer, a male conservative or a female liberal-minded individual?
Maybe both.
Which way do we want to go?
Maybe both.
Both, yeah. Okay. Oh, whoa. Well, let's chat about that in the feed then.
Yeah.
All right.
And we'll nail somebody down.
Guys.
All right, guys.
These conversations are priceless for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just greatly appreciate it. Hey.
Happy birthday, Gray.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh, I didn't realize-
Yeah.
Oh man, give her happy birthday.
43. Valentine's girl.
Wow. Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. It's the heart day. All right, cats. Well,
All
All right, brother.
Look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah.
This time, same time next week.
Same time next week. Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right.
Love
Talk
you,
soon.
dudes.
Love you guys.
Much
Take
love
care.
all the way around.